Okay.
Hi everyone.
Hey Matt.
I'm in Math, UK.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to stay hidden as usual.
Okay, we are live. Excellent.
Shall
I
I
can see us
start
on my
then?
TV. Yes, Alan, if you want to start, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, well, hello everybody to this world premiere for Kutch, a Zoom meeting. Normally we would have met at the Kutch itself, but obviously with the coronavirus has put paid to that. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Alan Roderick. I'm the chairman of Kutch. Just to say a few back, 2013, Newport City Council in their wisdom decided to close the old Stowe Hill Library, and to cut the long story short, a committed band of volunteers with the council's permission managed to resurrect it, but not as a library as such. It on the way became metamorphosed into the Kutch Arts Centre, and we've run courses in French and Welsh and creative writing, and we have had a ukulele group go in, but all of those things have gone by the board, unfortunately, as we've been closed since the end of March, practically. If you was about history, before the council closed it, the library opened, Stowe Hill Library opened in 1940, when another virus was creeping all over Europe, and namely Hitler and the Nazis, Nazi Germany. But Newport Borough Councils, they were then, took a leap of faith and opened the library, and it lasted to 2013. And we were very lucky last year to be able to open the doors of the Kutch to the Cardiff and Vale College photographers. And there are a few more of them then, but 3 of you were here to carry on the torch. And I had a brief look at the virtual gallery, and this is not a word I use very often, if at all, but it seems awesome to me. And what would we do without today's technology? We'd have been, none of this would happen. But well done all the photographers for keeping the flame of photography alive. And I'll pass on to someone now who understands a lot more about photography than I do, Mr. John Briggs.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bit of virtual clapping there, yes. So, John, take over to you, John.
Thanks very much, Alan. Well, for those of you who don't know me, I'm John Briggs, and I am the exhibition organizer at Kutch. I'm also a photographer, a freelance photographer, but the exhibitions that I have organized at Kutch over the years have not just been photographic exhibitions. We have a number of fine art exhibitions as well. So Kutch isn't necessarily a dedicated photographic gallery. It's dedicated to fine art in general. However, this particular exhibition, which I'm very, very pleased to be able to promote, publicize, and to speak about briefly. If pandemic had never happened, this exhibition would in fact be on the walls of Kutch. We had an exhibition from students from Cardiff and the Vale College last year at this time as an end of term, end of year show. And it was a couple of months ago when lockdown began, in fact, before lockdown began. Very regrettably, I had to cancel the exhibition, as well as 2 other exhibitions which we would have been holding before this one. But then Paul Woofenden, dear Paul, tutor of the group, mentioned the idea of having an online exhibition. And I thought, right, well, that sounds great. The only thing is, I don't know a damn thing about putting on online exhibitions. And he said, well, don't worry about it at all. The students will do this. And I said, right, well, okay, that sounds great. Paul said, all you've got to do really is to promote it, publicize it, support it, put publicity on Cook's website, on the Cook's Facebook page, which has been done. Put it on my own Facebook page. Imagine the photographers themselves have been busy publicizing the exhibition. I've sent out invitations as I would to the exhibition, if it even it was not being held under normal circumstances. And I'm hoping that there are loads and loads, dozens, hundreds, I don't know, maybe thousands of people out there who are actually tuning in to us this evening. And it struck me that actually this is a fantastic platform to use for future exhibitions at Cook, not instead of an exhibition on the wall, but as a supplement to exhibitions on the wall.
Yeah.
Using the Art Steps platform, which the students, well, particularly Robin, has introduced me to actually put exhibitions at Cook onto a much, much broader audience, which functions as a local art center, a local gallery. And most of the artists we get, most of the support we get, most of the audience we get are Newport-based, Cardiff-based, South Wales-based. But with this kind of platform available to us, which is reach to go far, far beyond anything that we're used to. And I think that's a really great prospect. And I'm so pleased to be able to offer at some time in the future. I'm going to rely, of course, on the likes of Robin, other students, people with tech knowledge, the kind of skills, the kind of experience which I don't have. But if they're willing to give me a bit of help, or put me on to other people who can help with this, I'll be very happy. Coach to become international gallery, international outreach. But anyway, that's a look to the future. And as far as the present exhibition is concerned, I'm very proud to announce a quick partnership with students of Cardiff and the Vale College to present this exhibition entitled Solidarity. It's a collaborative effort between three student photographers, Beth Alderman, hello Beth, Martin Wild, hello Martin.
Hi.
And Robin Goff.
Hello.
Hi, Robin. And of course, they've been unable to attend classes because of the current coronavirus pandemic. So each in their own separate ways, they've been working in isolation now for many, many weeks. The project explores their hopes, their motivations for building a better world than the one before it, and how through solidarity we can all work together, even when kept apart. I'm going to say something. I'm going to introduce each of the photographers. Beth. Beth is from Southwest England. Been isolated in Southwest England since how many weeks, Beth?
March ages.
March. And in isolation, Beth has set out to create a series of photographs that explore her memories of growing up in her grandparents' house and in particular their garden. So being stuck at home during lockdown, during the pandemic, which actually forced her to confront the grief that she'd been avoiding over losing her grandparents. And the images that she's taken are taken in her grandparents' garden. A very personal set of images as a way of coming to terms with losing her grandparents and the memories that being in a garden has brought back to her. We have Martin Wilde. Martin is from Cardiff. And as with Beth, his images are very personal ones. The images are related to the breakup with his partner during lockdown.
John, sorry, I quickly jump in. It did change last minute, but I continue. It's still relevant in a way.
Right. Okay.
Sorry to interrupt.
Right. Well, we'll see when we get to the exhibition. Okay, and then finally Robin. Robin is originally from Barry, Cardiff. And his images are of landscape, cityscape, around Cardiff itself. And as opposed to Beth's images and Martin's images taken with digital cameras, digital SLRs, Robin has been using a pinhole camera. So it's photography very much in its simplest form. And the effect has been really to strip away the harshness, harshness of reality as it could be taken by a digital SLR. So his soft focus images and colors show a world that to me looks impressionistic, idealistic, a much more pleasant view of the world than the views that we get of our cities, of our streets, of our parks, and so on. The bleak views that we sometimes get, which are the result of lockdown and the pandemic. So that's briefly what the exhibition is comprised of. I'm going to pass over to Paul Woffington, tutor of the group, carry on and talk to us about the exhibition and the project. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you very much, John.
Thank you, John. I'm not sure if you've left me anything else to say, but I will try. That was really well informed, thank you. So hello everyone, I'm Paul Woffington. I'm the course leader for the foundation degree in photography. Not that that means anything, I'm not important or anything. I just have the pleasure of working with this year group of students. So I'm particularly proud of their achievements. They've produced this exhibition entirely off their own back. This isn't something required by us for their studies, for their grades. They've taken it upon themselves to produce a really creative, inspirational, collaborative piece of work. So thanks very much, guys, and well done. Also, just bringing in a mention of Kutch as well. So initially, John invited our students the year before last to hold their exhibition. There's an opportunity, an opening. John comes and speaks with our BTEC students, our degree students each year. So thank you for your continued support and input, John, and for passing on all your valuable knowledge and information and insight into photography and the creative arts. So thanks very much to you and Kutch. Just getting back to the students and their ingenuity. The students have worked autonomously, they've worked independently, to the point that we would meet once a week for a progression meeting, and sometimes we'd be in a bit of panic thinking, is this actually going to happen? And you're always quite surprised, pleasantly surprised by their progress. It's really interesting to see how students are developing their own creative viewpoint through using photography to express themselves. And it seems quite apt, actually, that their work is being shown virtually. That's all I have to say. Thanks very much, and I hope you enjoy the virtual gallery that Robin has had quite a hand in assembling. So particularly, a particular thanks to Robin. Thanks again for all your hard work and for helping to drive this, and also for Beth and Martin for producing really interesting pieces of work too. Okay, thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Paul. Yeah, the reason why I'm definitely putting as much work as I can into this is I just didn't accept not having a summer show this year, and I think it was Fez, who is a photographer that we worked with on a unit in our course, sent us a great article during one of our projects, basically pointing out that if we're waiting for things to go back to exactly how they were before, then we're going to end up being disappointed, because this is going to go on for a long time. So the best thing that we can do is to adapt to the situation that we're in, and try and work as hard to get the things that we want done within the situation that we find ourselves in. So I think this is probably the closest that we could have gotten to having a genuine art exhibition. But as John pointed out, it's fantastic that this being virtual means it's so accessible to everyone all around the world. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Right, let's take a look at the gallery. So if I move that there, then that should be... Right, so that should show the gallery now on there, and if I hit this lovely button down here, then that should share the gallery with you guys. Right, everyone, welcome to our virtual reality exhibition. So yeah, this is hosted on artsteps.com. Which basically allows you to create a 3D space. It works in virtual reality if you happen to have virtual reality goggles, and it also there's an app on the phone which you can use to move around a little bit easier. But if you go to the link geni.us/solidarity, you'll be able to get access to see this. You can either move around by clicking on the floor where you want to go, or you can use your keyboard keys to kind of just walk around and take a look however you want. So we got the few different exhibitions around, and even moving image as well, which is a little bit finicky but does just about work. So just to tell you a little bit then, to start off with my projects. So my project is, as John said, it is using pinhole photography. The reason being is that just before, a couple of weeks before we started, before lockdown came in and the college had to shut, we had just done a pinhole workshop, which is when I produced this image just over here, the first image, and I completely fell in love with it immediately. I've always kind of had a taste for sort of antique and vintage photography technologies, and then when lockdown came in, I lost access to the darkroom that we had in the college, and I have no way of creating a darkroom really in my house, so that was kind of the end of that. And then when lockdown came in and we were given the sort of 1 hour of daily exercise outside a day, I realized that my world had suddenly become very closed in, very constrained. And while I was taking my camera out to document Cardiff under lockdown in my local area, I was quickly running out of new ways to photograph it. And then I came up with the idea of, okay, what if I create a pinhole adapter for my DSLR? Like maybe that will give me something interesting to experiment and play around with. And so I tried it out. I've tried a few different ways. The first way using just a bit of paper glued to an adapter. And then the one that I finally got to work that is what created all of these was using a body cap for a DSLR and drilling a hole in it and then putting a bit of beer can sellotape to the front of it and poking the pin through that. And that's what created my adapter to create digital pinhole photography. And yeah, I found it gave me sort of a whole new perspective on my surroundings, because all of the things that were making me anxious about the world, all of the news reports and the feeds, suddenly were stripped away, and human activity was stripped away, and you just got a sense of the planet as a sort of a bigger picture of everything that takes you outside of what, say, your phone is telling you, or what Facebook is telling you, or what the news is telling you. And I found it very therapeutic to do so. And so these images are basically a series of basically my exploration doing my daily exercise. So all of these images are taken within 1 hour of my house. Sometimes I would notice a photograph, I didn't have the camera on me, I would return back to it and take it again. Sometimes the light wouldn't be quite right, so I'd go back and try it again. But yeah, these are the images that I've taken. And so I think we shall move on to Martin's images.
Thank you, Robin. Well, initially, as John was saying, it was meant to be designed towards like the relationship aspect, and I mean how much solidarity in that. But I mean, the relationship ended before I planned to put the images up, and it was only today I realized, it just didn't feel right. My heart wasn't in it enough to show the images anymore. So so today, last 2 hours, I spent rushing to put the images I felt the kind of speak to show me and what I'm passionate about the most, and what I've grown to love as a photographer. I mean, the first three images, I'm very passionate about nature. I've kind of started to grow quite a lot of lemon trees in my kitchen. Why lemon trees? I ate a lot of lemons, but I'm rambling. But yeah, so it's the idea behind that is, about how much we are part of nature, and we often miss that. And so these three images kind of show that progression of how we are destroying nature, and so that's kind of, it's just a brief explanation of the first three images. I mean, there's a more detailed explanation in my portrait shot, is in my statement. But as I've grown as a photographer over the last year, I've really found, this is my self-portrait, feeling drained, as we all do at times. And I mean, I've really grown a real love for abstract work, and just noticing these little things. And while being in isolation, I've kind of, sometimes, I'm overcomplicating things and kind of trying to do too much so I kind of started to strip things back and just really focus on the very simple points of photography, the light and the shade and just the smaller details. But everything that I've taken is just I live close to the river, so on my times when I would go out walking, I mean, these are either things on my way or along the river that I would find. Excuse me. So yeah, and these are just some of the images I felt the need to show at the very last minute. Yeah, as I said, I mean, it's just things that caught my eyes. I mean, like as I was on my journeys, whatever time of day it was. Yeah, it's not really much more I can say. Man, a few words. But I really, I really hope you enjoy the show. Thank you.
Okay, and on to Beth.
So hi, hello. The first set of still images that are currently on the live screen are from a module within the year that I completed with Connor and JJ, who unfortunately I don't think are here tonight. It was a narrative piece looking at how all of our lifestyles had been impacted and changed as a result of lockdown. It was during the early days when we were quite limited as what we could do, only being allowed out for an hour. We all kind of wanted to explore the sense of confinement we felt whilst in lockdown. So for me, it was definitely focusing on framing, using windows to definitely have the implied notion that you're stuck inside, obviously. And that's what we did for the narrative piece.
Okay.
So moving on to,
There you go.
with the Solidarity exhibition, I was, as John already mentioned, I was exploring the time I've spent in my grandparents' house these past 3 months and childhood memories I had of the place as well. I spent most of my time here as a kid, and it held a lot of joy for me. And when I went away to university, unfortunately, they both passed away. And coming back home was something I avoided quite often because I didn't want to face the reality. And I remember, like you mentioned, Robin, about Fairs in the other module, the fact that we can't just sit around waiting for it to go away. And that kind of spurred me on to deal with how I'd been feeling and also use photography as a way of expressing how I'd been feeling as well. So the photos itself are just typical places I would sit in the garden or play when I was a child as well. And it just allowed me to kind of celebrate the garden and the life they lived and also my time there instead of avoiding it.
Thank you very much. Right.
Thank you.
Okay, if I stop that now